filed it 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before she purchased the property. Probably when she was, in contract on the property. In other words, nobody goes and buys the property. Yeah, it's yours, off the shelf, whatever. The certificate of occupancy clearly states that it's 5 units, and any loan officer, any professional will tell you that the certificate of occupancy is the paramount document. You can't just turn a 5-unit building into 4 units by saying you're occupying 2 units. That's not the way it works.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and A.J. Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most.
So I want to move on to the one of the other things I was reading about was, explain the Brooklyn property. It's 5 apartments, but she listed it as 4, and you get a certain whatever benefit for 4, and once it's 5, it's commercial. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I'll explain to you. In fact, I went over there about 2 weeks ago with another person, Joe Gilbert, who's been also done some invaluable stuff on the thing. So I don't want you to think I'm taking total credit for myself, which is not true. Joe Gilbert did a lot of work, and we built upon each other's work, similar to the way you build upon what you learn in an investigation. Same thing. So what happens is she has a residence in Brooklyn that she purchased around 2001. In her own name, her own person, individually. And the first mortgage she takes out was a 1 to 2 family house. And over the years, there were 9 other mortgages and refinancings, etc. She has every single mortgage listed at 4 families, 1 or 2 families, or 1 family. Now, 4 families or less. Now, when you buy a property, there's something called the title search, the appraisal. There's various things that go on when you buy a property. My memory is fogged a little bit because I live in Manhattan. I live in an apartment back in the day. But anyway, so what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to look at the permitted occupancy of the property. Now, there was a certificate of occupancy that was, they inspected the premises and they filed it 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before she purchased the property. Probably when she was, in contract on the property. In other words, nobody goes and buys the property. Yeah, it's yours, off the shelf, whatever. The certificate of occupancy clearly states that it's 5 units, and any loan officer, any professional will tell you that the certificate of occupancy is the paramount document. You can't just turn a 5-unit building into 4 units by saying you're occupying 2 units. That's not the way it works. There has to be what's called a legal conversion. I think it's a Section 1A or something like that, conversion.
It's almost like a partition.
What?
It's almost like a partitioning of the property.
Right, exactly. There are building codes that go into it to prevent people from creating fire hazards, etc. Right. Now, complaints were registered with the Department of Buildings. I don't know who did the complaints, but they were registered. And the Department of Buildings wrote it off as a minor error. What do you mean minor error? She's saying it's 4 units, it's 5 units. Now, was there political favoritism involved? I don't know, but it smells like all the years of one so-called mistake over another so-called mistake. It gets to the point that it's not a mistake anymore. Listen, in your experience as a cop, you get people that make that one mistake, right? And you say, something, this is a warning, I'm going to let you go.
Right.
If you catch him again, what are you going to do?
Listen, I gave you the warning the last time. I need you to press down hard on this. It's 3 copies. Here's your copy of your citation. I'll see you in court.
I'm sorry, did you hear?
I would say, here's a copy of your citation. Press down real hard. It's 3 copies. I'll see you in court.
Right.
I'm not giving
I don't get any traffic citations. I haven't driven a car in 6 years.
So I want to explain the difference. So, and I try to break it down to the simplest form for our audience, because a lot of us are not lawyers. And what's the big deal? Because there's something that you benefit if it was only 4 units, and 5 units or more is a commercial unit, which is judged or used separately. I want to explain that part.
The difference between 4 or less units, is that you're a residential property. The difference between 5 or more is that you're a commercial property. And that's a very big important thing. Number one is the underwriting standards are much more stringent on the commercial property. You got to put a higher down payment. The mortgage interest itself is much higher on a commercial property, and also the insurance is higher on a commercial property, which is three things. So every one of these things, let me digress for a second. Back in the day when Crazy Eddie was defending himself, and I was the main witness, he said, this is all Sammy's doing. He did this, he did that, but he made $100 million. I was making $300K a year. Not trying to plead poverty, but he was the guy that made the money. Him and his family, his dad, his brothers, they made $100 million. Okay. Here, every single mistake she claims she made benefited her financially over a period from when she purchased the property in 2001 to the last mortgage I can see on Acris, which is the database, in 2021. Every single mortgage document was to her financial benefit. Remember, it's not the first time. So I'm going to give you a warning this time. I'm going to catch you the next time, whatever. This is a repeated behavior over time.
So, and talking to somebody who's like a layman, and this just, I'm asking because I'm not clear. This kind of is getting to a territory that is sounding reminiscent of what she went after Trump for.
Well, believe it or not, I know about the Trump case, but people ask me all the time. I haven't followed. I don't know much about it. All I know is it was mortgage fraud, et cetera, et cetera. Given my limited time and resources, it's not an efficient use of my time. I'd rather just spend it all investigating the issues at hand.
Right. Sam, let me ask you a question. You said on your ex, you said multiple phantom mortgages. What do you mean by that?
Let's go back to what I described when she bought the property on Peroni Avenue in Virginia, which is the first of the two properties. The Sterling Street property was the one where she signed the affidavit. Right. All right. So the Peroni Avenue property, when I first looked, I saw two mortgages exceeding the value of the property by a ratio of at least 2 to 1. Then I looked and I saw a third mortgage that was never disclosed, and I couldn't find the two mortgages that were disclosed in the financial filings with New York State. These are what I call phantom mortgages. She has also another mortgage that she lists on her financial disclosures in relating to the 296 Brooklyn property, 296 Lafayette Avenue, Brooklyn. That mortgage appears on our financial disclosures to New York State. I can't find it in Acris. So here's the question. Okay. I don't think she made up those mortgages. This is my opinion. Again, I don't want to, I'll tell you when I deviate from facts to opinion. I don't think that she fabricated those mortgages. What I do think is questions should be asked. Why weren't those mortgages recorded?
Right. That's a
that's the whole purpose of getting a mortgage. Yeah, they don't get any protection if it's an unrecorded mortgage. It's just like a regular general debt.
That's interesting. I guess. Well, how do you have mortgages that's not recorded? I'm confused. I'm.
You know what it is? She's been on the air. This is baseless. Is this? But she won't litigate. But she's litigating by saying it's baseless and all of that. The first 2 pages of a lawyer's rebuttal to the DOJ referral was all about Trump. I mean, I can't believe. I think she sees Trump when she wakes up in the morning, when she goes to sleep. I don't know. To me, it's like an obsession. And I'm not defending Trump. Believe me, I'm not.
Sam, what you're saying, I want to make sure I'm clear. She didn't record the mortgage loan where?
Okay, the Brooklyn property, I'm not sure of the name, and I don't want to mix it up. Name is irrelevant, but I've written in my blog, Brooklyn property, there's one mortgage listed on our financial disclosures that cannot be found on Acris. Acris is the ruling database. Everybody uses Acris. It's a government-funded database.
So I just, the cop in me started like, okay, well, what's the benefit of not recording a mortgage loan? And AI spit out the answer. I have to verify this, But it literally says the main benefit of not recording a mortgage loan is to avoid paying mortgage recording taxes.
That is correct. New York is worse than the mafia when it comes to extracting money out of people.
Which
2% is the mortgage
can be
recording
a
tax.
substantial percentage of the loan amount. This can be particularly advantageous for borrowers as it reduces the upfront cost of securing a loan.
That is correct.
However, it also carries significant risk for lenders, as unrecorded mortgages can be subject to attack by bankruptcy trustees or other creditors, potentially invalidating the lien.
Now, you brought up a very good point. Let's play investigator to investigator, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your point is well taken. It is the mortgage company that records the mortgage. Why didn't they? What benefit did they get?
Yeah, they're exposed to more. They're exposed to more risk. Yeah.
And that's a question that needs to be answered.
Why would they do
How
that?
often do you see unrecorded mortgages?
Why would they do that for? Why would this particular? So now we need to be looking at that lender to say, what benefit did they acquire to absorb that type of risk? Why
Exactly. Those are the questions that have to be asked in the investigatory process, which I'm sure that the feds, will do. Everybody thinks that people go to me, on Twitter, they say, well, she hasn't been arrested yet. It's not a 2-hour movie. You guys know that. It's a process.
Exactly.
You got to build upon. I don't anticipate. I could be wrong. Maybe tomorrow they'll arrest her, but I don't think so. I don't think we're going to know the results of the investigation for at least 6 to 9 months, as they should take their time.
Right.
It was like when the feds investigate you, it'll take a long time. The feds could be the people cutting your grass for the last 6 months, and you would never know it. You don't know when you're being investigated. You just do not know.
The Crazy Eddie investigation started in January 1987 while I was still at the company, and it didn't even involve securities fraud. It was us. We were charging the Japanese companies 3 times for the same repair and getting reimbursed on it. That's another story. But like we talked about evolving investigations over time, it was learned that there was a securities fraud and they came after us. Now, the indictments, 1987, January, the indictments didn't come until 1992.
Jeez, 5 years.
Jesus Christ.
Well, part of it's my fault because I lied my ass off before they flipped me and they beat the shit out of me and I became a better person. But that's another story. I actually have a deep respect for the feds.
Did they physically beat you though?
What?
Did they physically beat you?
Nah, I'm only kidding. But the way, listen, you're a cop. You know how they can play psychological warfare. It's kind of like this.
Absolutely.
They're gonna put you in that room for 12 hours.
At the end of the day, Crazy Eddie's, I got 6 months of house arrest in 1994. It's nothing. 6 months of house arrest, right? But they don't understand. There's a process. It's like having a gun to your head, right? What's that game? Russian roulette, and not knowing when they pull the trigger, it's going to blow your brains out.
And it lasts for how? For you, you knew the investigation started in 1987,
right?
Oh,
so for me, the criminal investigation stopped in 1994, but the civil investigation by the SEC, because remember, there's a lower burden of proof in civil cases. So I'm still cooperating with the feds for 4 more years.
So wow.
Basically took over my life for like 10 years. 10 years, 11 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that whole process. I mean, I was under indictment for a little while. So I spent 26 months.
We should make up indictment T-shirts. I was under indictment.
I was under indictment. And it's because you don't have the certainty in your life. You don't know what's going to happen.
That's what I'm talking about. Uncertainty. Now, I'm a guy that was married at the time. I have three boys. It's not an easy thing for a parent. Yeah. I'm not trying to play the sob story to you because I made my own bed and I'm responsible for what I did. Okay. But the victim suffered 1,000 times more than me. But the point is, it is a very grueling process.
Yeah.
Right. Sam.
You only made one mistake, Sam. Well, you made a couple, but you made one critical mistake.
I should have entered politics. Go ahead.
No, out of that $100 million that they got, damn it, you didn't work out your percentages right. Okay.
Sam, I want to address. So you say you're saying on X, right? In 1983, James and her father signed a mortgage documents identifying themselves as husband and wife, not father and daughter.
Yes, not to take credit. That was
Wait,
Joe
what?
Gilbert who uncovered that.
He said, AJ's
I was
like, what?
Wait, what?
Wait,
Yeah.
okay, wait one.
Yeah, explain that.
Let me explain it to AJ.
Please, yes.
In 1983, she purchased a separate property in Queens, okay, which is a property we haven't spoken about. The deed says father and daughter, but the mortgage says husband and wife. Now, when she paid off the mortgage years later, I think it was right after her father passed away, I'm not sure, but it was years later, right? It still said husband and wife. So it wasn't just it was something that was still there.
No,
So
now what
legally,
what was that?
legally, what is that legally? Is there a crime? I mean, is that a crime? It's just
Even if there was a crime, it's past the statute of limitations. It's just a delicious story. You know, it's kind of like somebody dug it up. What am I going to tell you?
But it's just it might have shown a pattern and practice of fraud.
Yes,
right.
Behavior. Listen,
right.
Do you think I woke up one day
exactly.
when I was doing crime? Do you think I woke up one day and said, "Oh, I'm going to become a criminal"?
Yeah.
Right.
There's a process. We all evolve and we all grow. Some of us grow on the wrong path, like me, as opposed to you guys. You ended up on the right path, and some of us grow on the right path. It's just that's just the way it is.
Right.
Top of that, but I want to stop right there real quick because there were some things said, but when you were coming on, and I seen some things written about you online. So some people are writing you off that you are paid to come after her and that you're a Trump MAGA supporter and you're working for Trump, and that's the reason why you're doing any of this. So I wanted to give you a chance to explain it.
I'm a registered Democrat, first of all. I've supported Democratic and Republican candidates, as my right as an American.
Right.
I have no ties to the Trump administration. I am not in contact with the Trump administration, although I am in contact with law enforcement, as would be expected under the circumstances. I am not,
Right.
and it's totally ridiculous. But let's put that aside. Let's say everything everybody is saying about me is true for the sake of argument. My work speaks for itself. It's very documented. I post links to all of the source documents. It doesn't matter if I burned down the building yesterday. What matters is if I am correct or incorrect.
Right.
And I wanted you to get a chance to address that also. So you didn't have a personal axe to grind with Tish James and you're just coming after her. I
have a personal axe. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have a personal axe to grind with any politician that I see is corrupt. Now, in New York, unfortunately, it's a one-party state. There's no Republican controller. There's no Republican governor. There's no Republican mayor. There's no Republican city councilor. What am I going to do? Should I, with my limited resources, should I start writing about some red state somewhere far away? Of course not. Yeah. Here's my impression. This is just a personal observation. When I blog about things, I root it in facts. If I don't have facts, I ask questions. Okay?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But in this case, I'll just give you a personal observation, which could be incorrect. I don't know. Is that I don't think she is as bright as people really think she is, given what I've documented. I think she's more of a political figure than a legal figure, notwithstanding the fact that she has a law degree. I just don't see her as an effective litigator. Now you can say, well, she went after Trump and this and that, and she won whatever. But those cases are under appeal, and who knows what's going to happen?
Probably get overturned. Listen, You Sam, that's one thing I've noticed this since I've been in the practice of law. There are people who have a law degree who can't litigate and then become politicians. Or seriously,
we have that with accountants also, but okay.
And they do other things because being a litigator is really tough. You really do have to think about what you're going to do before you do it.
Oh, it's a grueling thing, and somebody's life is on the line when you're litigating.
And the person who witnessed it was her deputy in the AG's office, somebody Levy or somebody. Is that
Jennifer Levy and another person, a staffer in her office.
So
really?
Two people
From her
2 people.
office?
In fact, in fact, you stopped me from finishing my blog about it, but I'll share it with you now.
That brings up an interesting point, though.
Now you're scooping me on my own blog. Go ahead.
If she intends to make that her residence, won't that essentially disqualify her from being?
Yes.
No,
If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Support independent Black media with style. Rock Black Westchester merch and represent the news with the Black point of view. Every purchase helps us speak truth to power. Black Westchester Magazine's People Before Politics show every Sunday at 6 p.m. It's the news with the Black point of view.